mandates continue to be lifted, there is some hope we are heading from a pandemic to an endemic.
And while those cases do continue to decline, local infectious disease doctors say the answer isn't as simple as it may seem to going back to normal. As Chase Howell reports, big events this spring could impact the progress we've made. Chase?
That's right. Events like the Home and Garden Show and the top St. Patrick's Day Parade are just weeks away, bringing thousands of people into Rochester. Infectious disease doctors urge the unvaccinated to stay home. California is the first state to shift their strategy in battling COVID-19 to an endemic approach.
Endemic virus is something that is with us every year, possibly all the time.
Experts say an example of an endemic virus is the flu. Whether we're on our way to declaring the COVID-19 pandemic to an endemic, there's no clear answer.
Not a line that you can cross and say it's endemic now. I have to say that I always thought it was going to become endemic, that with a respiratory virus, it is very difficult to induce what we call sterilizing immunity, whether it's a vaccine or natural infection, so that you never can get infected again.
There are already signs of normalcy. The Home and Garden Show makes a comeback after 2 years of being canceled due to COVID-19. The Rochester Home Builders Association says they expect anywhere from 4,000 people to 10,000 people to attend.
Now, currently, there are no mask mandates, so we're planning on not requiring masks. Certainly, we will encourage people to wear masks if they feel so.
The top St. Patrick's Day Parade is set to make its return after a 2-year hiatus.
Because the parade route is pretty long down East Avenue to Main Street, there's plenty of space to spread out and social distance in whatever way people feel comfortable with.
Dr. Falsey says anytime she hears tens of thousands of people gathering makes her nervous. But it's not the parade that makes her nervous. It's those heading indoors to celebrate afterward.
I think as people continue to drink, they lose their judgment. So when you're in a bar and it's noisy, you have to shout. So those are all things that we know increases the likelihood of transmission.
Health experts say even though a virus is considered endemic, doesn't mean people, especially the unvaccinated, can't get seriously ill.
If we don't get it right this time, if we don't pass fair pay for caregivers, we're really going to continue to sink down to the bottom on all these different levels.
That plea today for better pay for home health care workers across New York.
Yeah, there's actually a bill in Albany that could make that happen. As 13 WHAM's Natalie Kutchko reports, advocates say better pay would attract workers and improve the care.
Today we heard from a man battling cerebral palsy who's been living at Monroe Community Hospital for 15 years. He bought his own home in Greece last year, but hasn't been able to move in after struggling to find home care help at a livable wage. 36-year-old Flip Palizzi Rivera sits in his new empty home in Greece with the hopes of moving in someday soon. He has cerebral palsy and requires regular care and assistance.
I have been trying to move out of MCH for 11 years. I started in 2010 and I am still trying to find home care to enable me to move out.
He says that's largely due to a shortage of home care aides unwilling to work for low wages.
You pay somebody $13 an hour, they might come to work. They might not.
It's a trend state lawmakers say they're working to fight against for people like Rivera and many others in need of home care.
New York is in one of the biggest crises in the country when it comes to home care workers. And if we don't get this right, a lot of things are going to really crumble.
Assemblywoman Sarah Clark is one of several lawmakers pushing to pass the Fair Pay for Home Care Act. It would set wages for home care aides at 150% of the minimum wage. For someone making $13 an hour, it would increase to $19.50. Mark Donahue has been a nurse for more than 20 years and a home care nurse for the last 7. He says the last few years in the pandemic have required overtime and for others, little compensation.
For me, I do okay, but I know depending on financially, depending on where you're at, what level you're working at, it could be overworked, working 60 or 80 hours a week and not getting proper pay for it. We are in demand right now, so name your price, because they should be able to pay it.
Meanwhile, Rivera's friends continue to advocate on his behalf for better wages and better care.
When you have somebody that's that knowledgeable and that smart and they are so connected and they can't get out of a nursing home, it shows you where the problems really are.
With support in both houses, legislators we spoke with today say they're hopeful. Come April 1st, the Fair Pay for Home Care Act passes in the state budget.
Also tonight, people who live in an affordable housing complex in Parenton are speaking out about filthy conditions.
And they worry their complaints about rodents, mold, and water damage are being ignored. But as Carla Rogner reports, there is now a deadline for the owners to address those concerns. Carla?
Yeah, that's right. The town of Parenton says complaints have ramped up recently at the complex, and the property has until Thursday to do something about it. Some residents we spoke with say these problems have been going on for years.
It's been hell. It's been a complete hell.
That is how Nelifar Farzad describes the last 4 years of life at the Pines of Parenton.
4 more, or actually 5 more here.
This video of rodents nesting in her daughter's toys and mice inside her birdcage is a glimpse at what she says she deals with daily.
Because I have about 50 different holes that the mice, they come through.
Nelifar says her 7-year-old daughter has mold and mice in her bedroom.
We've been living in unhealthy environment for the past 4 years here. And we just tried everything we could. But right now we don't know what else to do.
We took a tour of the units this week with State Senator Samra Brook and Assembly Member Jennifer Lunsford. They are advocating for the problems here to be addressed. A spokesman for Wynn Residential, which acquired the property in 2019, says it's planning a $50 million renovation of the 500 units here. But some have their doubts.
Because they put paint on walls and they change light fixtures, but they don't actually get into the real issues. They only put Band-Aids on it.
Tiffany Porter moved out of Pines of Parenton in 2016 after her kids kept getting sick. But she worries for her parents and neighbors who stayed.
But this is an immediate need that needs to happen like yesterday.
The town is encouraging all residents to report code violations to the town, which has given management until Thursday to share its plans to address residents' complaints.
And if they've been corrected, we will re-inspect and close the complaint. And if not, then we'll take it to the next step of the enforcement process.
For Nelifar, keeping her daughter in the Fairport School District is a priority, which limits her affordable housing options.
So I have no other choice but staying here. Where else am I going to go?
This Thursday, the Pines of Parenton management will face fines unless they can share how they plan to bring the units up to code.